Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learn this truth from whom to rule well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit, and I'm going to entitle this one, Esau is not our friend. And who is Esau today would be the self-proclaimed white man, the Caucasian, the quote-unquote white race that are ultimately using pseudoscience and Darwinism theory to put themselves over the rest of the nations, over the rest of the populations. You know, you got the tiny caps, the small hats, the 48ers that invented the IQ, you know, and who has the highest IQ is the tiny caps, the small hats, the imposters, you know, which are ultimately the Amalekites. But through deception, through lies, pseudoscience, psyops, our people been indoctrinated to believe that the self-proclaimed white man is God. Like it says in the book of Job, chapter 9 and verse 24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, and they covereth the faces of the judges thereof. So we all grew up, you know, believing that, oh man, the white people, they're the chosen people, they're God's people, they're white, they're pure. But now that this word has gone out, you know, like it says in the book of Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 3, you know, the pride of Esau has deceived him. And then boom, Ba'ashem Yahushai sent out our elder high priest Abba Bivens, which we believe through the Holy Spirit that's Elijah in the reincarnation. And that's when Esau Edom's kingdom started collapsing. Right around the late 60s, you know, 70s, 80s. And you got our apostles, elders, bishops that have been pushing this word out for 30, 40 plus years. You know, and then ultimately ever since, the downfall of Esau Edom's kingdom has been speeding up. That's why you see Esau Edom moving tacky. He's crashing out. You know, he's trying to put the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which are the true Israelites, as the face of you know, T-ism. Because he's been exposed. He's been found out that he's nothing but a devil, a liar, a murderer, a rapist. All he does is just kill. He doesn't produce life. Because the Heavenly Father ultimately created him to be the sword upon the planet Earth. He created him to be the whipping stick for the Israelites, you know, because we went off. But now that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has awoken his remnant, his elect in these last days, now you got our people, you know, and even Jake and the world are starting to find out that Esau Edom is nothing but a devil. You already had, you know, Gad and Reuben, the Native Americans, Seminole Indians, that already have that deep hatred for Esau, but you still have some, or really a lot of our people, the 2/3, that still trust in this devil. You know, they trusted in his pseudoscience 6 years ago, taking that jump shot for the C-19. And that's what they're about to do again. They're about to trust in what he's about to bring, which is that mark of the beast, the RFID microchip. And that's going to get a lot of our people put to death. So this is Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. And what have we, you know, before we came into this truth, you know, we were trusting in this beast system and this Edomite, that if you go to work and you work hard, you'll be just like him. You'll be like Elon Musk. You know, you'll go from rags to riches, when it was all fake. And now you got Esau Edom pushing that narrative. Oh man, trust in the science, you know, trust in the, and this is not medical advice, but, you know, take this juice, take this jump shot, and you're going to be good. Just like the serpent came to Eve. Man, if you eat of this philosophy, you shall surely not die. And then, for example, what happened with that Jake, that went with those Edomites over there to that island in that boat, what did he do? He didn't apply wisdom. He didn't acknowledge who his enemy is, which is Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, and along with the rest of these heathen nations, the so-called Chinese, the so-called Arabs, the so-called Indians. They don't have the interest of the nation of Israel. That's why in the parable of Lazarus, you got those dogs that were licking the wounds. Who were those dogs representing is these other nations. You know, the Chinese setting up, Moabite food, every corner, liquor stores, nail salons, weave stores. You got Elam, which is the Indians, the East Indians that are putting all these gas stations and selling cigarettes and cheap liquor, cheap beer to our people. So ultimately, the heathens, they don't have the best interest of the nation of Israel. They want to do away with us because they know that we're the true chosen people of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. So majority of our people are just going to have to find out the hard way that Esau, Edom, still has that deep hatred for us. It's not because of the color of the skin. It's not because, oh man, he's white and he's black. No, it's deeper than that. It's because the spirit it all goes back to the womb. He had Isaac, and he had gave birth to Jacob and Esau, but that enmity with Esau, which is the self-proclaimed white people, and Jacob, and the descendants, the 12 tribes, which are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, that enmity's been going on ever since, even during the time of Cain and Abel. It says, verse 11, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped the looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust had not been altogether wiped away, because he's still that same devil. Because what did he do? He put on a suit and tie. He shaved off his whole hair, bald face, bald head. So now people are looking at him like, oh man, he's not so bad. He's talking about he's going to make America great again. He's going to put all these tax cuts. He's going to offer universal basic income. All you got to do is take this RFID microchip, which is the MOTB written about in Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. That's how he's going to get a lot of our people to fold, because he's going to offer them incentives, dainties, and is going to get our people deleted. This is Psalms 55 and verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So this is how he has deceived majority of the people up on the planet Earth. This is how he deceived Gad and Reuben, when he came to the Americas. He looked how Gad and Reuben was living. Oh man, we should make a covenant, a contract. If y'all help us, we'll help y'all. And what ended up happening? Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, he stabbed the native Indians, the Native Americans in the back. Because that's what he was created to do. He wasn't created to be an upright person. He was created to be a devil, a liar, a deceiver, a murderer. But now the world is starting to wake up to the fact that that's all they've done. The whole 250 year of America's time of ruling up on the planet Earth, all Esau has done is go to war. He can't chill. He wasn't created to be like Jacob, simple, plain, dwelling in tents. No, Esau has to go around the world, cause havoc, cause destruction, kill, murder, grape, steal resources, like it says in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. His desires is hell. He can never have enough. That's why Yahweh Bashim Al Shai is about to bring him down, because he can never stop. This is Proverbs 27 and verse 6. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Offering those incentives, oh man, You know, if you take this juice, you'll be able to go back to work. You'll be able to have your job back, when it was all BS. And what is he about to do? He's about to do the same thing during the hour of temptation. Oh man, you take this chip, you trust in my beast system, you bow down to me. Shit, you get a higher universal basic income. You get more social credits. You get to have 2 cockroach protein bars instead of 1 a day. This is what he does, and this is what he's about to do on a whole nother scale. This is Psalms 28 and verse 3 in the NLT. It says, "Do not drag me away with the wicked, with those who do evil, those who speak friendly words to their neighbors while planning evil in their hearts." Yeah, because that Jake, what's his name, Nolan Wells, he wasn't thinking about, oh man, Esau's going to slime me out. He's going to set me up and stab me in the back. That wasn't at the back of his mind, because he didn't apply wisdom. He didn't acknowledge who his enemy was, because the truth is out here. You even have these Esau telling on himself, the third witness, whistleblowers, telling them that all these devils do is just go around the world and spy, cause havoc. You got the flock cameras, because Esau, Edom, all he was created to do was to plan how to kill. How about Shemal Shai created the perfect devil to cause havoc around the planet Earth? And that Jake, he wasn't considering that. He was, oh man, we're going to go on vacation. We're going to go on this island, go on this boat, go on this beach. We're going to have a good old time. He was never thinking about, oh man, shit, this is the devil right here, Esau. He could kill me right now if he wanted to. And that's what happened. That's what happened. That Jake, he got thrown over the boat, or whatever happened. Because Esau, Edom, has that deep hatred towards the tribes, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. That's why whenever you go, say you go to Edomite grocery store, primarily, heathens, they're like, oh man, what is this so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American doing here, man? Go back to the hood. Go back to, wherever you came from. Because it's not about the skin color, it's about the spirit. Get this next one. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 26 and verse 23. In the NLT, it says, "Smooth words may hide a wicked heart, just as a pretty glaze covers a clay pot." Verse 24, "People may cover their hatred with pleasant words, but they're deceiving you." Yeah, your Edomite neighbor in the suburbs. You may live out in a primarily Edomite neighborhood or heathens. Oh, howdy, neighbor. Esau saying hi, waving at you with that Edomite smile, with the lips, just that they're deceiving you, because as soon as they go back in the house, oh man, that damn nigger, that damn wetbag, tomahawk. This is how they truly feel about the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which are the true Israelites. It says, verse 25, "They pretend to be kind, but don't believe them. Their hearts are full of many evils." Yeah, because Esau, he can't wait till all hell breaks loose. He's just itching to put our people to death. That's why a lot of them, they become cops, because that gives them a license to kill the tribes, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. That's why they love pulling Jake over, because he wants Jake to react, to not comply. But what do the scripture says? Agree with thine adversary quickly. And that's something that majority of our people don't do, especially when Jake gets pulled over. He think he has rights. Oh no, I'm not going to show you my ID. I'm not going to show you that I have rights, because they don't have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Shemal Shai. They don't have the fear of the Lord to apply the wisdom. That's why they move so recklessly. Oh man, I'm not showing you my ID. They try to the cop tells them, oh, get out the car. What does Jake do? Resist. No, I'm not getting out. And then what ends up happening, the cop pulls Jake out of the car. He breaks the window. He starts punching on him. And that's light work, because Esau is to the point where he just wants to put 12 rounds in Jake's back. But that's that deep hatred that Esau, Edom, has for the tribes, because he's our enemy. It says, verse 26, Proverbs 26 and verse 26 in the NLT, while their hatred may be concealed by trickery, their wrongdoing will be exposed in public. Yeah, now that the world is starting to find out that Esau Edom is truly a damn devil. That because they love to push that narrative that, oh man, the problem of the earth is the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Jake ain't the one over there in Iran, trying to take over the Strait of Hormuz. Jake ain't over there in Venezuela trying to, just take over the resources. No, who's the one who's a vagabond that's going around the earth just causing havoc? Is Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, and he's being exposed. This is Ezekiel 35 and verse 5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Verse 6, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashim al Shai, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. So Yahweh Bashim al Shai is going to reward this devil for all the atrocities that he's done. That's why all these EP island files, all the people in those files, they haven't been arrested yet. Why? Because the same lawyers, the same district attorneys, they're in those files as well. So why are they gonna, expose themselves? No, Yahweh Bashim al Shai is the one that's gonna reward these damn devils, these heathens, for all the atrocities that they've done to the tribes. This is Jeremiah 13 and verse 23. Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? Then may ye also do good that are accustomed to do evil. Yeah, because that Jay, he wasn't considering, oh man, these aren't the same white people that were back in 1800s, 1900s. Oh, they changed now. Now they integrated Jake with Esau. They removed segregation and mixed the population together. Now they allow us to move into their neighborhoods. They're allowing us to vote, have a job. They're allowing us to go to their universities. But really, Esau don't want them there. Esau wants to do away with the tribes. But our people don't understand that. That's why they're going to have to find out the hard way. But Esau, he shows you this in the movies, the Purge movies. What was the whole point of the Purge? Was to do away with the quote-unquote poor people. Who's the poor people? Who's at the bottom of the barrel? The tribes, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So it's the same devil. It's that same serpent. During the time of Adam and Eve, it's the same serpent. During the time of Jacob and Esau. What did Esau say? After Isaac passed away, oh man, once I get done mourning the death of my father Isaac, then I will slay my brother Jacob. He's still in that same spirit. He still wants to do away with the tribes because he wants that birthright back, but he's not going to get it. He's not going to get that birthright back. This is Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob shame. Oh, let me read it again. Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So this is why Esau Edom is going to be eradicated off the planet Earth. In the verse 18, it says, there shall no more be left of the house of Esau. And what does that mean? Being done away with. Being done away with as a nation. Because there's not going to be any need for Edomites in the kingdom of heaven after it gets built up. After that 1,000 long hardcore year slavery. Because all they do is cause destruction. That's why you see the earth sighing and crying. Mourning because of who's in rulership. That's why you have the earth heating up. El Super Nino. Because Esau Edom, he doesn't keep the law, statutes, commandments like he claims he does, especially here in America, a so-called Christian founded country, when it's completely the opposite of that. Here in America is that do as thou wilt. Do as the Romans do. You got the Las Vegas or Sin City. So that's why Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to have to destroy this devil after he serves that 1,000 long hardcore year slavery. Because there's not going to be any need for a devil. He's just destroying and lying and, pushing that sword upon the people. This is Romans 9 and verse 13. It says, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. There you go. Yahweh Bashim Shai hates Esau. We hate Esau. We're not like the other camps, the ISUPK. The Most High hates Esau, but we don't agree with that, or they don't want to say it, because why? They're compromised. They sold out. But here in Great Millstone, we're going to straight up tell you, no, we hate Esau. We hate the heathens. We even hate the 2/3, of our own people that are bugging out. They're under the vibration of Esau. So they're going to have to suffer the death of a heathen as well, since they love this devil so much. But what the scripture says, do not I hate them that hate thee, O Yahweh Bashim Shai. Esau, he hates the Most High. The 2/3 of our people, they hate the Most High. These heathens, they hate the Most High. So they're going to have to get put to death. But it says, Jacob have I loved. Who is the ones who they're acknowledging that they're the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Is the remnant, the elect. And that's why Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to keep them. He's going to deliver them when Esau, Edom, comes down with that great wrath. Because during this grace period, during this mercy period, they were acknowledging, okay, that's the damn devil. He doesn't have our best interest. He's devising iniquity. He's devising all these plans to try to do away with us. And that's why Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to give up the 2/3 of our people to Esau, even the wicked of our people. He's going to allow them to take that chip. He's going to allow them to get put to death during Jacob's trouble. He's going to allow them to get tortured in these concentration camps. Why? Because they didn't acknowledge that that's their enemy. But the elect, the remnant, Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to keep them. Like it says in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, when that fowler, with the sword, which is Esau, comes down, he's going to deliver them. And there's going to be some of the members of the elect that are going to be martyrs for the testimony of Yahweh Shai. But the Lord is going to keep them up until the end, and they're going to be risen up first when Yahweh Shai comes back in that chariot, in that fathership. But that's pretty much the point. I pray that this was edifying unto the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are learning this truth from and who rule well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom.